the universe had always been filled with laughter. The humans, known for their humor, had traveled to countless star systems, spreading joy wherever they went. Their jokes and lighthearted nature had a way of turning even the darkest times into moments of relief. But that was before the day the galaxy fell silent. For years, the humans had kept a secret. Hidden from the other races of the galaxy, they had built something beyond imagination, a ship, not just in space, but in the very fabric of reality itself. A ship that could manipulate time, space, and emotions. It was called the Seventh Dimension Vessel. When the first alien ships appeared, there was no doubt in anyone's mind. The galaxy was on the brink of destruction. The humans had been watching, waiting for the right moment to reveal their ultimate weapon. And on that fateful day, that moment arrived. The ships of the alien invaders descended on Earth, their weapons glowing with a deadly promise. They were unlike anything humanity had ever faced, tall, menacing, and powerful. The humans had no choice. With the aliens at their doorstep, the time to act had come. As the fleet of invaders approached, the leader of humanity, General Elena Cruz, gave the order. The Seventh Dimension vessel powered up, its core glowing with an energy that seemed to ripple through the very air. There was a hum low, deep, and filled with power. When the vessel activated, everything changed. The energy from the ship surged outward, spreading through the galaxy in an instant. The ships of the invaders froze, their engines stalling as the force of the vessel's power warped the space around them. The very laws of reality seemed to bend and twist, as if the universe itself was being reshaped. But it wasn't just the invaders who were affected. The entire galaxy felt it. Planets, stars, and civilizations paused. Every single living being felt the change. And then, as the wave of energy rippled through, something strange happened. The laughter, the joy, the humor that had always filled the universe was gone. The galaxy fell silent. It wasn't just the sound of laughter that vanished. It was the very emotion itself. No one could smile. No one could laugh. The lightness, the relief, the carefree feeling that had once defined life in the galaxy was replaced with a heavy, oppressive stillness. The humans had never expected it to be like this. The silence wasn't just a lack of sound, it was a void that seemed to consume everything. Back on Earth, General Cruz watched in disbelief. The vessel's power had worked too well. The entire galaxy, even the alien invaders, had fallen into a strange, cold silence. She had hoped for peace, but this was not what she had imagined. What had they unleashed? On the alien ships, the leaders of the invaders struggled to regain control. They were powerful, but they were not prepared for this. The Seventh Dimension vessel had not only stopped their ships, but had also stripped them of something they hadn't realized was so important, their will to fight. Without laughter, without joy, the energy to keep going was gone. The aliens, once so powerful and certain, were now confused, paralyzed by the silence. In the darkness of space, the universe seemed to hold its breath. Time slowed, and reality itself felt like it was twisting. The humans, with their ship at the center of it all, were now left with a choice: to destroy their enemies or to find a way to bring back the laughter that had been lost. Back on Earth, General Cruz gathered her team. They had to decide. The vessel was too powerful, too unpredictable. Could they undo the damage they had caused? Or had they gone too far? As the silence continued, she felt a weight on her heart. The galaxy was in a state of paralysis, frozen by the very power they had hoped would save them. Her second-in-command, Captain Darnell, looked at her with concern. "We did what we had to do," he said, his voice flat. "The aliens were going to destroy us. The vessel gave us a chance. We can win this. But at what cost?" Elena replied, her mind racing. She couldn't shake the feeling that they had taken something precious from the galaxy, something that might never be returned. The laughter that had once filled the stars, the joy that made life worth living, was now lost. Would they ever get it back? The silence stretched on, and the universe seemed to drift further into chaos. The galaxy, once vibrant with laughter, was now an empty void. Every planet, every ship, every creature was waiting for the moment when the silence would end, Back in the heart of the vessel, something began to change. The energy that had silenced everything started to shift. The vessel, as if responding to the fear and uncertainty of the humans, began to power down. The oppressive weight of silence began to lift. Slowly, like a breath drawn after a long period of holding it, the first spark of laughter flickered in the distance. It wasn't much at first, a small sound, a brief chuckle from an unknown being on a distant planet. But it was enough. The galaxy was waking up. The silence was breaking. The humans had made their choice, and now they would have to live with it. The laughter might have stopped, but it was not gone forever. The power of the seventh-dimension vessel had shown them that. And as they waited for the universe to find its voice once again, the humans realized one thing. Even in the darkest times, even in the deepest silence, the power of laughter would always return. In the galaxy, there was one thing that set humans apart from all the other species. It wasn't their technology, their intelligence, or even their strength. It was their laughter. Everywhere they went, they spread joy and humor. Their jokes and cheerful spirit were contagious, making even the most serious of situations feel lighter. The universe had grown to love humanity for this very reason. The humans were known as the laughter bringers, and their presence was always a sign of peace. But that peace was about to be shattered. The alien race known as the Zorvans had never understood the concept of humor. They saw it as weakness, something that had no place in the universe. They valued only strength, control, and power. For centuries, they watched as humanity's laughter spread, thinking it was a dangerous distraction. To the Zorvans, the laughter of humans was a threat to their vision of a perfectly controlled galaxy. The tipping point came when the Zorvans decided that humanity's influence must be erased. They launched an attack on Earth, their fleet massive and unstoppable. They had come to silence the laughter of the humans forever. What they didn't know, however, was that the humans had a secret. Deep within a hidden research facility on Earth, scientists had been working on something no one outside of humanity knew about, a powerful weapon designed to protect the Earth from any threat. It wasn't just a weapon of war. It was a weapon that could change the very nature of reality itself. They had built a ship that could manipulate time, space, and even emotions. It was called the Seventh Dimension Vessel. When the Zorvans' ships arrived, humanity had no choice but to reveal their secret. The Seventh Dimension Vessel was activated, and its power surged through the air, filling the sky with a brilliant light. It wasn't like anything the Zorvans had ever seen. In an instant, the universe seemed to freeze. The Zorvans' ships halted in midair, their weapons disarmed. Every star in the sky flickered, as if the very laws of nature had been altered. But it wasn't just the physical universe that was affected. The laughter of the galaxy stopped. All at once, every being in every corner of space felt a cold emptiness. There was no joy, no happiness, no humor. It was as if the soul of the universe had been ripped out. Humanity had done it. They had stopped the laughter of the galaxy. General Elena Cruz, standing aboard the Seventh Dimension vessel, watched in disbelief as the power of their weapons spread. She had hoped to protect Earth, but never imagined that the silence would be so complete, so all-consuming. The Zorvans had wanted to silence humanity's laughter, but they hadn't realized that in doing so, they would silence everything. The silence was not just physical, it was emotional. The very essence of joy was gone. People, once filled with life and energy, now sat in a cold, lifeless silence. It was as if the universe had lost its heartbeat. On the Zorvan ships, their commanders struggled to understand what had happened. They had expected to see humanity break, to see them panic and fear. But instead, they were faced with something they had never anticipated, a calm, emotionless human race. The laughter that had once filled the galaxy was now replaced by an eerie, unnatural stillness. The Zorvans, who thrived on fear and control, didn't know what to make of it. "We have done it," Captain Darnell said, his voice low, standing beside General Cruz. "We've silenced them. They will no longer stand in our way." But Elena didn't feel the same sense of victory. She stared out at the frozen space, the silence weighing heavily on her. "What have we done?" she whispered to herself. "This wasn't what I intended. This is worse than war. The Zorvans, sensing an opportunity, prepared to strike. They could not let humanity continue to wield such power. The idea of an unstoppable weapon, capable of bending reality and emotion, was too dangerous. But as their ships powered up for attack, something unexpected happened. The seventh dimension vessel began to pulse with a new energy. The silence that had gripped the galaxy was now turning into something else. A new feeling began to spread through the universe, a sense of dread, of loss. As the Zorvan ships charged forward, they suddenly found themselves unable to move. Their weapons fired, but the shots were absorbed by the vessel's energy, leaving them defenseless. "What's happening?" one of the Zorvan commanders yelled. "We can't move." The power of the seventh-dimension vessel was too much. It didn't just silence the galaxy, it had started to control it. The Zorvans, who had sought to end humanity's laughter, were now the ones trapped in an endless loop of confusion. They had underestimated the power of human ingenuity. What they didn't realize was that the vessel didn't just manipulate time and space. It had the ability to manipulate emotion, and humanity's emotional intelligence was far more advanced than the Zorvans had ever known. As the Zorvans' fleet struggled, General Cruz's voice rang out, sharp and clear. "We won't destroy you, but we will stop you. The galaxy will find its joy again, but only when you learn that peace is more than just control." The Zorvans' ships began to retreat, their arrogance broken. They had come to silence the humans, but instead they had learned a painful lesson. Laughter was not something to be eradicated. It was the very thing that made the universe alive. As the Zorvans disappeared into the stars, the galaxy slowly began to return to normal. The laughter, once lost, started to return. At first, it was small, just a chuckle here, a smile there, but slowly, the joy of the universe was reborn. And in the quiet after the storm, humanity realized something important. Their laughter had led to war. But in the end, it had saved the galaxy for centuries. Humans had spread across the galaxy, known for their bright smiles and laughter. Wherever they went, they brought joy. Their humor lightened even the darkest corners of space. The universe was filled with sound jokes, laughter, music, and the cheerful energy of life itself. But all of that was about to change. A war was coming, and the galaxy had no idea how dangerous it would be. It started with whispers, rumors of a new alien race known as the Exarthians. These creatures were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. They were large, dark-skinned beings, their eyes glowing with a cold, emotionless light. The Exarthians believed that laughter was a weakness, something that made people soft. They wanted a galaxy where only strength ruled, a galaxy where emotions like joy and humor had no place. Their plan was simple: destroy everything that caused laughter. At first, the humans didn't take them seriously. They had faced threats before, but they had always found a way to laugh through it. But the Exarthians were different. They didn't care about the humans' jokes or their humor. They cared only about wiping out any race that threatened their cold, emotionless empire. When the Exarthians arrived in the human colonies, they didn't announce their presence with attacks or weapons. Instead, they used something far more terrifying: silence. In an instant, every human ship, every colony, and every settlement went silent. No sound. No laughter. No talking. It was as if the very air had become thick with stillness. No one could speak, not even in their thoughts. The Exarthians had discovered a way to remove all sound, all noise, from the universe, leaving behind a silence so complete it suffocated every living being. Humanity had no defense against it. The more they tried to fight, the more they found themselves trapped in this oppressive quiet. Even their most powerful weapons were useless. Nothing could break the silence. The galaxy's once vibrant energy was now a still, lifeless void. Without the power of laughter, of sound, the humans felt powerless. The Exarthians believed they had won. But they were wrong. General Elena Cruz stood aboard a human ship, staring out into the empty, silent expanse of space. She felt the weight of the silence pressing down on her chest. It wasn't just physical, it was emotional. The laughter that had once filled the air, the joy of humanity, was gone. She felt empty, as if a piece of herself had been stolen. The silence wasn't just a lack of sound, it was a force that had drained every living being's will to fight. "We can't give up," Captain Darnell said, his voice barely audible, as if he feared the silence might consume him. "We need to fight back, General." Elena looked at him, her eyes filled with a determination she had never felt before. "We need to do more than fight back," she said. "We need to take back our laughter." The seventh dimension vessel, the human secret weapon, was the only hope they had left. It had been designed long ago, long before the Exarthians ever arrived. The vessel was a creation of pure power, a ship capable of bending reality itself. Its energy was vast, beyond anything the humans had ever seen, but it came with a risk. No one knew what would happen if it was activated. ASE, the silence held the galaxy in its grip. Elena made the decision. They would launch the vessel. The ship's engines roared to life, its core glowing with an energy so intense it seemed to shimmer in the air. The seventh dimension vessel powered up, its energy spreading through the empty void of space. The silence that had reigned for so long began to vibrate, almost like a pressure building up before an explosion. And then it happened. The vessel's energy surged out, breaking through the stillness. The silence didn't just crack, it shattered. A powerful wave of sound rippled through the galaxy, not just breaking the quiet, but replacing it with something even more powerful. The humans' laughter, once stolen from them, returned, but it wasn't just their laughter that filled the universe. The energy of the seventh dimension vessel spread to every living being. The silence had been transformed into power, an immense power that no one could have anticipated. The Exarthians, who had thought they controlled the silence, now found themselves trapped by the force of the humans' joy. It wasn't just the sound that returned, it was the very essence of humanity's spirit. The Exarthians had underestimated the power of laughter. They thought it was a weakness, but they were wrong. Laughter was strength. It was a weapon they couldn't control, a force they couldn't stop. In every corner of the galaxy, the silence was replaced by the sound of humanity's joy. The Exarthians, who'd believed they could take away everything that made life worth living, now found themselves facing the very thing they feared most. The humans' laughter became a weapon, not just against their enemies, but against the very nature of the Exarthians' rule. Their empire crumbled under the weight of it. General Cruz stood tall, watching as the tide of war turned in humanity's favor. The Exarthians, once so confident in their ability to control the galaxy, now retreated, unable to withstand the power that laughter had unleashed. The humans had won, not with weapons or force, but with something far more powerful, the strength of their spirit, the joy that could not be taken, and the sound of their laughter. And so, the universe learned an important lesson that day. Silence could be powerful, but laughter was unstoppable. It all began with a single word: silence. For centuries, laughter had been the soundtrack of human life, lighthearted, infectious, and full of warmth. Everywhere humans went, they spread joy. But that joy was about to be taken away. The galaxy had always been a place of wonders and laughter. Humans had traveled to distant stars, meeting alien species and sharing their sense of humor. Their ability to laugh, even in the darkest times, had made them beloved across the galaxy. But there were those who didn't understand laughter. Those who saw it as a weakness. The Imperium, a powerful alien race with an iron grip over countless star systems, had watched humanity with growing disdain. To them, humor was a tool for distraction, a way to weaken societies and break their resolve. They believed in control, strength, and discipline, and they decided that the galaxy could no longer tolerate the spreading of laughter. They had a plan, an unthinkable plan. In the dead of night, the Imperium launched their most terrifying weapon, the silence bomb. The bomb was unlike any weapon humanity had ever seen. It didn't destroy cities. It didn't burn planets. It erased sound itself. The Imperium scientists had perfected the bomb's technology, and with it, they could shut down every living being's ability to speak, to laugh, to sing, or to even think in sound. When the first silence bomb was detonated on Earth, the results were immediate. At first, there was confusion, voices fell silent, music stopped, and even the wind seemed to hush. But then, As the humans realized what had happened, the panic set in. No one could speak. No one could communicate. The laughter that had once echoed through cities was gone. General Elena Cruz, the leader of humanity's forces, felt a deep chill as she stood on Earth's surface, listening to the empty air around her. She tried to speak, but her mouth made no sound. The silence bomb had taken everything that made humans, humans. It wasn't just a physical silence, it was a void, an absence that threatened to swallow their very souls. "What's happening?" Captain Darnell shouted in desperation, but his voice too was swallowed by the oppressive silence. "We can't fight back if we can't even communicate." Elena felt a lump in her throat. She had faced war, loss, and battles before, but this was different. They were losing something more important in their lives, something irreplaceable. The silence wasn't just killing their communication, it was killing their spirit. The very core of humanity's joy had been erased, and in its place, a dark emptiness began to spread. The more they tried to speak, the more they realized they were powerless. But just as despair began to set in, a strange thing happened. The Seventh Dimension vessel, a secret weapon that had been designed by human scientists as a last resort, powered up. It had been hidden away for years, locked in a chamber deep underground. The vessel was capable of manipulating the very fabric of reality itself. But could it reverse the damage caused by the silence bomb? Elena had never planned on using the vessel, not until the darkest of times. And now, faced with the total loss of joy, the destruction of all communication, and the overwhelming silence that threatened to consume everything, she had no choice. With a heavy heart, she ordered the launch of the Seventh Dimension vessel. The ship soared into the void of space, its engines glowing with an unnatural energy. Inside the vessel, a hum filled the air, a deep, resonant sound that seemed to stir something deep within the universe itself. Elena and her team strapped themselves in, unsure of what to expect. As the vessel activated its core, a ripple of energy spread outwards. The silence was broken, but only for a moment. A single pulse of sound echoed through space, a deep, thunderous wave that washed over everything. For a brief second, Elena thought it had worked. She opened her mouth, and there it was, a sound. A voice. But then, the pulse began to fade. The silence returned. The crew inside the Seventh Dimension vessel stared at each other in disbelief. Had they failed? Had they lost everything? But just as all hope seemed lost, the vessel began to glow brighter, and a crackling energy surged through its core. A new sound filled the air, an energy so powerful that it seemed to make the very stars themselves hum. It wasn't just any sound, it was laughter. At first, it was faint. A small chuckle, almost like a whisper. But then it grew richer, fuller, and stronger. The laughter spread outwards, reaching across the galaxy. It wasn't just human laughter. It was the laughter of every being, every soul that had ever felt joy. And slowly, the silence began to crack. The creatures who had fallen under the spell of the Imperium's silence bomb felt it first. They were frozen, trapped in the quiet void. But as the laughter spread, they began to awaken. They remembered what it was like to feel joy. The galaxy, once suffocated by the Imperium's weapon, began to hum again. Not with fear, not with death, but with life. The Imperium's plan had backfired. The silence bomb was a weapon meant to extinguish joy, to control the galaxy with fear. But it had done the opposite. It had shown the galaxy what was truly valuable: laughter. The silence bomb had tried to erase everything that made life worth living, but in the end, it had only made that joy stronger. The Imperium, realizing their defeat, retreated into the dark corners of space. The galaxy had found its voice again. Humanity, though shaken, had shown everyone that silence could never truly win. The end of joy had become the beginning of something even more powerful: a universe alive with laughter. And from that day forward, silence was no longer a weapon. It was a reminder of what could be lost, and of what would never be taken again. It began as an innocent joke, just a harmless story told at the right moment. The humans, known for their infectious laughter, had shared their humor with the galaxy for centuries. Wherever they went, They brought light, joy, and endless jokes that echoed through the cosmos. Life was never dull when humans were around. But no one could have guessed that one small joke would lead to the end of everything they had ever known. The Zorvans, a fierce and stoic alien race, had always seen humor as a sign of weakness. To them, laughter was a distraction, something that undermined discipline and focus. For years, they watched the humans spread their humor across the stars, growing more and more frustrated with every chuckle they heard. But what could they do? The humans were loved by everyone, and their jokes had become an accepted part of the galactic culture. Then, one day, everything changed. The Zorvans decided that enough was enough. They would put an end to the laughter that spread through the galaxy, and they would start with the humans. A single message was sent to Earth, one that seemed like just another funny quip. The joke's over, it read, followed by a strange symbol. At first, humans thought it was just a prank from another species, something to laugh at. But that night, as they gathered in their cities, something strange happened. A chilling silence fell over the planet. No one could speak. No one could laugh. The air felt thick, heavy, as if the very soul of humanity had been stolen. The noise, the chatter, the music, everything was gone. It was as though the universe itself had been muted. People tried to speak, but their words came out as nothing more than a whisper. The laughter that had defined humanity's spirit was silenced in an instant. General Elena Cruz stood in the command center of the Earth Defense Force, watching as the city lights flickered and went out. She tried to call out, but no sound came from her lips. The silence pressed against her chest, suffocating her. She could feel it, the weight of 1,000 years of laughter being erased in the blink of an eye. "This can't be happening," Captain Darnell said, his voice barely audible, as if even the silence was trying to swallow him whole. "What do we do now, General?" Elena knew that if they didn't act fast, the silence would consume them all. But what could they do? The Zorvans had somehow found a way to stop the laughter, and with it, they had drained the very will to fight from humanity. But Elena had a plan, a dangerous plan, one that no one could have predicted. There was one weapon left in humanity's arsenal that no one knew about, the seven-dimension vessel. This ship was humanity's last hope. Designed in secret by the greatest minds on Earth, the vessel was capable of manipulating the very fabric of space and time. It could reverse the flow of energy itself, bend reality, and even control emotions. But it came with a price. No one knew if it would work or if it would destroy everything. As Elena and her team made their way to the hidden facility where the vessel was stored, the silence grew even more oppressive. It wasn't just the absence of sound, it was as if the very air itself had become dense, like a fog that didn't let anything move. The longer they stayed in it, the harder it was to think. Finally, they reached the seven-dimension vessel. Its sleek, dark exterior seemed to hum with an energy that made Elena's skin tingle. She didn't hesitate. She ordered the ship to launch. The engines roared to life, and the vessel shot into the sky. As it broke through Earth's atmosphere and into the vastness of space, the crew braced themselves. They had no idea if their plan would work, but they knew they had to try. Once they were deep in space, Elena activated the ship's core. A pulse of energy shot out from the vessel, vibrating through the universe. For a moment, everything stood still. Then, slowly, the silence began to crack. The first sound was faint, a whisper of laughter, barely audible, like a distant echo. The crew looked at each other in disbelief. It was working. But the silence wasn't completely gone. It was as if the universe was struggling to remember what it had lost. The seventh-dimension vessel's energy surged again, stronger this time. The pulse of laughter spread, slowly at first, then faster and faster, like a wildfire. All at once, the universe came alive again. People on Earth could hear each other's voices again, and they began to laugh, the sound of their joy filling the air. Music, laughter, and chatter returned. But there was something more. The seven-dimension vessel wasn't just bringing sound back, it was filling the universe with an overwhelming wave of emotion. But it wasn't just joy. The silence that had once felt so heavy now seemed to twist, morphing into something darker. As the laughter returned, it carried with it a sense of urgency, of defiance. The Zorvans, who had tried to silence humanity, felt a surge of fear. They had thought they could control the universe by taking away laughter, but they had underestimated the power of joy. The Zorvans tried to fight back, launching their fleet toward Earth. But they were too late. The seventh dimension vessel had altered the very fabric of the galaxy. The power of laughter and emotion was now unstoppable. The Zorvans' ships began to malfunction, their weapons misfiring, their systems failing. Their empire, built on control and fear, was crumbling under the weight of humanity's spirit. And then, as quickly as it had begun, the pulse of energy from the vessel reached its peak. The joke was over. But the Zorvans were the ones who had become the joke. Humanity had won, not with weapons, not with force, but with something far more powerful. Laughter had once been seen as a weakness, but it had become the strength that saved them all. And as the universe erupted in joy once again, humanity knew one thing for certain: no one could ever silence them again.